People look at kids, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're lying. You're over exaggerating, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah." And that's how I thought she would perceive me as. And true enough, she said, "Oh, I would have believed you." But somewhere deep down, I don't think she would have believed me because once I shared with her what had happened, she apologized. She told me she was sorry. But then when I made the decision to actually put that in that book, my first book, Silence Breaker, oh boy, the truth came out. She backlashed me, and I expected that. But what happened to the "you're sorry"?
Yeah.
You know, she didn't, and I knew what it was. She didn't want people to look at her as a bad parent. I just thank God that I overcame everything that was meant to destroy me physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Phenomenon. Coding.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to Life's Deceit with your girl, Jen Simpson. How are you guys doing? How's your morning, your afternoon, your night? Wherever you are in the world, I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day. Thank you guys for continuing to subscribe. Thank you for showing me love. Thank you for supporting the Life's Deceit podcast. Like I said, with me, your girl, Jen Simpson. Guys, before we get into this video, this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe, share with somebody, and please leave me a comment. Share with me what you guys want to see. What do you guys want to see? What do you guys want to hear? What do you want us to talk about? What do you guys want us to rap about? Rap about. Guys, in today's episode, we'll be talking about a transformational story. We have a special guest, and I am absolutely honored and excited about her. Her name is Thomasina Ruth. Thomasina Ruth is not just an author and an entrepreneur. She is a survivor and a thriver. Thomasina has been thriving in her purpose, and she wholeheartedly, boldly, authentically accepted her calling. And she became an inspirational speaker. Yes, she did. And an author. She wrote a book titled Silence Breaker. Silence Breaker. I wonder what that's about. Listen to my listeners today. You guys ever found yourself feeling ashamed, locked up in silence, can't share your story because you are afraid of how people will judge you? You've gone through childhood, teenage, or adult trauma, and when you go through trauma, you are automatically silenced. You don't know how to express yourself. You don't know who to tell. You don't want to tell it because you want people to judge you and automatically assume that you are something that you're not. Well, Thomasina wrote a book, and it's about her story of being not only molested but raped by her uncle, who she thought was her stepfather, going through abuse, finding out that her aunt is really her mother, and her process of healing and forgiveness and becoming the person who God called her to be. As we step into this episode, guys, please gear up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And please leave me a comment at the end of this video and let me know what you want to hear from your girl. How's your girl doing? Now, let's welcome Thomasina Ruth. So hello, Thomasina.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, beautiful?
I'm blessed, can't complain, won't complain. I'm feeling lovely. I'm excited about this podcast. I've been waiting on this. I don't care how I'm feeling. I ain't canceling this.
Listen, thank you for even saying yes. I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, podcasts are controversial, too much negativity. But thank you for saying yes without me even begging.
Definitely. Always. If I find it on my calendar where I could be available and be open to it, I'm there. I'm there.
So I was up, and I have to tell everybody the story.
Hmm.
In the morning, and it was after 3 a.m. And I'm like, God, am I on the right path? What am I doing that's not pleasing to you? Am I taking the podcast the right place where you want me to take it? And I
Yes.
kid you not, I was on Instagram and it came to your story.
Oh
And it was
wow.
and it was on the unfiltered stories
Yes.
podcast. And
Mhm.
I'm like, hold on. 3 o'clock in the morning? You just brought me to this story ironically when I was just questioning you. And then I got to yours and I saw a whole bunch of other ones. I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing.
Mhm.
And you just like send her a message. And I'm like, all right, I have to.
You'll
Your
be
story was
obedient.
compelling.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always
And
a pleasure to share my story. Always.
it's, you know what I find in the Black community, we struggled with telling our stories
Oh, yes,
and we were,
absolutely.
and we're raised on silence.
Yep.
And then when
Yep.
I went to your Instagram page and I saw your book, Silence Breaker,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, baby,
This the
now we
one.
really,
This
this
is
is
the
the
one.
one. So I get why you wanted me to message her now because everything I do is intentional.
Right.
Breaking generational cycles,
Right.
trauma cycles, silence cycle, shame cycle.
Mhm.
And you are a generational breaker. Like you are breaking generational curses. Not
Absolutely.
one man who thinks they
Mhm.
can challenge it can stop you.
Absolutely.
So we have you, lovely, beautiful. I love your dreads. They are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to know, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Where were you raised? Who are you? And what do you represent?
So I am Thomasina Ruth. I'm from Miami, Florida. I was actually raised in a different part of Florida. I actually moved from Miami, Florida to a different part of Florida, which is a small town country by Ocala. It's very country, and it's called Ocala, Florida. That's literally about 4.5 hours away from Miami. And I actually came to Ocala when my biological mom passed when I was a baby. And when she passed, we moved to Ocala, Florida, and her sister, which was really my aunt, that's who she left me in the hands of, and that's who took care of me and raised me. So I had been in Ocala, Florida for all my life. That's all I ever knew. So I practically grew up there, experienced so much trauma, so much abuse. Like my life happened in this small country town, and you know, so when I find it a blessing to be able to even share and remember these things that's, starting at such a young age, remembering from the age of 4 years old and how everything happened and how it played out. I find it a blessing to be able to be on here, to be able to write a book and to share my life experiences with the world, with other women, with a lot of people, because you know surviving everything that I've been through, not many people get to share their story. They don't get to live to tell their story. So I'm definitely a generational curse breaker. I'm a survivor. I'm all that in one. Like I can't even sometimes find the words to explain, because I'm so proud of myself. Like I just thank God that I overcame everything that was meant to destroy me physically, mentally, and emotionally. And that right there shows that God definitely has a purpose and a plan for my life.
Amen. And you said something. You said it's interesting that you remember things from so young.
Hmm.
And people try to pick at it. Well, you're a four. How could you remember that? That
Right.
doesn't make sense.
Yep. And I've had
What
that. I've had that experience.
but what,
People.
what people don't realize is that when we're young
Mhm.
and we go through trauma,
Right.
our subconscious mind blocks it out intentionally
Yep.
because as a child you don't know how to handle it.
Right.
So we block it out. But here's the thing, as we get older and we're growing and we're going through different seasons,
Hmm.
our minds start to remind of us of what we went through and
Yep.
why we're having difficulties in relationships.
Yep. And
That's
why our body is, feeling the feelings that it's going through and
exactly.
transitioning the way that it is.
This is the truth.
Mhm.
Because, you said that, and I was thinking about you when you were talking about your story. I
Mhm.
remember having a dream about being touched when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And I was raised in Jamaica, and I have never seen this man's face again. but his
Wow.
name was clear in my dream, and I
Wow.
remember what he did. And
Right.
for a while, I was like, okay, maybe it's just a dream. I don't know if this is real. And I asked my dad about it. I'm like, Dad, do you remember this guy? Is he real? My dad confirmed he is real. He used to walk you to school,
Wow.
and that was all in my dream. So sometimes we dream it, we remember it.
Mhm.
You got to go back and
Yep.
investigate why we're reminded of these things that how could you remember them? We're
Right.
young, we blocked it out.
Right.
So, what was it like for you being raised in Florida? You were raised by your aunt, not your
Mhm.
biological mother.
Correct.
Did you always know that she was your aunt?
I did not always know, I did, well, I found out at the age of 12 from a close sibling who I was raised around, which one of my cousins, and I think it was around the age I was, 12 when she actually, had a conversation with me and told me that my aunt wasn't really my mother. And I was confused. I'm like, "What?" It
Yeah.
left me puzzled. I'm like, "That's not my mom?" Like a typical kid, when you're puzzled by something and you're confused and you wanna know, you go to that parent and you ask.
You right?
And that was me. Like, I wanted to know, I needed to know, I felt like I deserved to know. So when I actually went to her and I asked her, she got very aggressive with me. She got mad at me, she got upset with me, and she was like, "Who told you that?" And I was like, "I told her who told me." And I'm like, "Why are you getting upset? Like, you don't
Right?
think I deserve to know this or know who my real mom was?" And that's the thing right there. Like, a lot of things that we go through and deal with in life right now is because our parents hide things from us. And
Yes.
now we're living in the trauma and we're suffering from that. This is why it's important not to keep important things a secret and
Yeah.
keep things from children. And at the time that we're going through these things, sometimes we think that it's our fault, but it's not our fault.
No.
And these parents, instead of them taking accountability, they try to make it seem like it's our fault,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So in the process of finding out that she wasn't my mother, it left me heartbroken. Because once I realized that she was not my biological mom, I'm like, so now who do I belong to?
Yeah.
Who do
Yeah.
I belong? Where's my real mom? And this is when I got the story that my biological mom passed. And I would hear different stories from different family members. So as I got older, I questioned them. I wanted to know more about my biological mom. I felt like I deserved to know and I should know.
Yep.
And that should never be taken away from a child.
No.
So when she did find out that I knew that she wasn't my mom, she just things changed. Things changed. Things turned out a lot different. And when I would go to her, because she had a close bond with her sister, which was my biological mom, she knew a lot about her.
Right.
And she actually took care of her before she began to transition with her sickness and everything like that. So she knew more about her than anyone in the family. So I would go to her and I would ask her a lot of things that I wanted to know about my mom. Like, what was she like? Like, what did she like to do? You know, and she would get upset with me. She's like, "Oh," she would say things like, "Oh, I'm the only mom you'll ever know." She wouldn't even want to share these things with me. So it was like very dismissive moments,
Yeah,
very
and
dismissive
questioning
moments.
why are you
Yep.
like that? Who
And
is
I,
your sister?
yep, yep, always got dismissed when it came to me wanting to know important things about my biological mom and things like that. And back then I didn't understand why she was very dismissive, but now I understand. I understand.
Did you actually ask her why?
Um, I never asked her why. I just paid attention to her actions, and I paid attention to how she was her trauma growing up and the things that she would share with me about her past experience and how she was. It played a major part in why she was very dismissive when it came to me asking questions about my mom. You know,
Right.
she had unhealed wounds, unhealed child abuse, um, and things like that. And she just wanted everything to be her way and go her way. She wanted what she wanted and things to be the way that she wanted. And she was kind of very much selfish and centered. It was like her way or no way at all.
Do you think it's because she put up walls from her own past?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fact that she put up walls from her own past, it showed, and it showed in ways that she silenced her abuse. A lot of things that was happening to her, she didn't know how to share it or get it out.
Yeah.
She didn't know how to, she didn't know how to use her voice because for so long, she would share with me how my grandmother's boyfriends and some of the men she was married to or she was dating back then, how they molested her. And she would share with my grandmother what these men were doing to her, but my grandma would not believe her. She would call her a liar. So this is what happened. This is the generational pattern.
The generational pattern. The cycle
Exactly.
continued.
Yep. It's like an ongoing thing. It happened to my grandmother probably, whoever her parents was. She
Yep.
passed it down to her daughters. Her daughters passed it down to who they were raising, which was me, until someone had to break the curse and share their story. And I find this so ironic because after I wrote my started sharing my silence breaker story and writing my book, I recently found out that she started writing a book.
Hmm.
I have this book. I have the date. She started writing this book in 1990 something when I was young. So she actually started writing. I believe that she wanted to free herself
Yep.
from the abuse and trauma, but she didn't know how to use her voice. She was afraid. She was afraid that people probably would judge her. They would look at her differently, but I feel like that still shouldn't have been a reason for you to shut down or to stay paralyzed to your trauma. At the end of the day, it's about healing. And it's not for anyone else, it's for you. No matter how it makes other people feel, no matter how they look at it, it's for you. And I've experienced that since I wrote my Silence Breaker story. I've experienced a lot of rejection, and majority of it came from family. But of course, because they're the ones who created these generational patterns. So I was aware. I was ready to accept it. I knew what it would bring. Just didn't think it would get that bad.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. Somebody got to break the curse, and this is where it stops.
And the somebody, you will have to stand alone. People
Yep,
will come against you, but guess what?
yep,
You see all those years
yep,
that God's been piling things on and
yep,
you fighting those battles, He's
yep.
already been strengthening you to be able to handle the attacks that were going to come.
Exactly. Yep.
So you don't even have to worry about
Right.
anything that comes after you because you already have every single tool and resource
Yep.
and ammunition
Right.
because He's giving you that over the years.
Yep.
And you said something that I've been talking about for a very long time. And I made the choice as well to not hide things from my kids.
Right.
And
It's
we
very important not to. This
we
is
are
why.
raised we are raised in homes as, and I use this a lot and people be like, oh, stop it on the black community. We're
Oh,
taught to be silent, especially
yep,
inside our homes. That's where we learn it first, inside our homes.
yep,
We see our parents fighting. Don't
yep.
tell anybody.
Or we get told what goes on in our house, stay in our
Stays in
house.
our house.
Yep.
And I've learned to say to my children, if it's your truth and we are harming you and you cannot
Mhm.
speak to us, I'm okay with you going outside and reaching out to somebody,
Yep.
whether it be your aunt, your uncle, a close friend,
Yep.
because
And
I
that
don't
was
want to cause any damage or trauma
right.
that I had to heal from.
Right. Yep.
But we continue the cycle when we tell them, don't talk about it.
Mhm. And it
So,
becomes
for
a burden. It becomes
right,
heavyweight.
heavy weight that they're carrying, even in relationships,
Yep.
we start dating men that look like our abusers.
Yeah. Ooh, yes. Yep.
And
This
it's funny,
this is what we attract.
it starts inside the home and how we raise our children.
Mhm.
Yes, okay, we don't want them to know that we were abused,
Mhm.
but you have to tell them so that they know how to handle those
Exactly.
situations.
Yep.
So it's so interesting. You said your aunt was writing a book, and I feel like that was her beginning of breaking her silence, but
Yeah.
something kept her locked up.
Mhm. Yep. She stopped writing it. And the crazy part about this is the book she started writing, it was with the man she was married to at the time who sexually abused me, who was abusing me while she was married to him.
So then now, I don't know if you did your research yet, but we're gonna pedal back a little bit.
Mhm.
The date when she started writing that book,
Mhm.
and then you look at the date of when mom passed away,
Yep.
then you look at the date when he started molesting you,
Mhm.
then you look back at the date of when she stopped writing.
Mhm.
I don't know if you connected those dots yet.
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
kind of figured you did,
Mhm.
because now it makes you wonder, did your silence start again when he started molesting me?
Yep.
Because now she realized, damn,
Yep.
I let the generational curse transfer onto my niece.
Yep.
And I could have done more,
Yep.
but I didn't.
She ignored the signs.
And she shut down. And the
Yep.
result of that was to treat you bad because she didn't know how to love you and
Yep.
stole you.
Yep. Yep.
There's a pattern for everything. I like to connect the dots,
Right.
because when I honestly, when I pick my guests intentionally, and I don't
Mhm.
call this an interview. This is us connecting, communicating,
Right.
fireside chat, so other people
This
can
is
get
needed. This
this
is
is
this is
me,
needed. This is
right?
needed. Yep.
And when I was connecting the dots, and my dad got cancer,
Wow.
that's when I found, because I always knew that my mom was molested by somebody.
Wow.
I just didn't know by who.
Right. Mhm.
And she instilled silence in me.
Wow.
Then when my dad had cancer, he started just venting and talking about his past and things that he went through. And that's when
Not
I
even realizing that was a way to start healing. That was a
not
way
even, girl, that was
to
another
release.
healing that I didn't even know that I needed. And I was like, oh God, you're doing something and I'm loving it.
Right. You
Right?
needed that.
Because,
You needed that.
girl, healing's not, I keep telling people, healing is not a thing you do,
Ooh.
and it's
Mhm.
not a destination. It is a journey, because as you go through life,
Mhm.
you experience different things and you realize, hold on, something's poking at me. What is that? Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
It's not for the weak.
And it's not for the weak.
Hmm.
You got to have that broad back to
Yep.
be able to handle the things that you're going to find out about yourself and other people in order to break those generational cycles. And sometimes God only gave you the
Mhm.
answers and the messages, and you're the one that has to go through the little corners and cut through
Yep.
everybody and jump over and dodge everybody just to get
Yep.
that breakthrough that you need.
Facts.
When my dad was telling me that my mom was raped, I was like, hold up.
Wow.
I'm not even ready to ask you any more questions yet
Mm,
because I want you to heal and go through this cancer because you were meant to survive it.
right.
Because you're about to break generational cycles with me and you
Yep.
don't even know it.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
you know, when you wrote this book, Silence Breaker,
Mhm.
this powerful book that's going to help generations to come, when did it all start?
Well, of course, I had been battling for years to share my trauma with my mom, and I actually got to share what had happened before she actually passed. This was I finally built up the courage to share my truth and to let her know what had been done to me by her ex-husband. It was the year of 2020 when I was pregnant with my youngest baby boy. So while this baby is inside of me, I'm having all these mixed emotions. I'm dealing with a lot. And you know, when I got the chance to share with her the trauma that had happened from her ex-husband, she broke down. She broke down and she cried. She's like, "Why? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you share this with me?" And my response was because similar things happened to my brother, which was her only child, which was her biological son. And then something similar happened to my older sibling, my sister. And when my brother and my sister shared with her what my stepfather had done to them, she stayed. It She overlooked it and she stayed. So me seeing that, even though I was young, I was very observant at a young age, but I was paying attention. And when I see she didn't do anything about it and she stayed with him, I stayed paralyzed. I couldn't tell her. So that was my response. When my older siblings told you you didn't do anything about it. So what difference would have made if I would have told you at a young age? You probably would have looked at me as a liar or thought,
Mhm.
people look at kids, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You're lying, you're over exaggerating, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And that's how I thought she would perceive me as. True enough, she said, "Oh, I would have believed you," but somewhere deep down, I don't think she would have believed me because once I shared with her what had happened, she apologized. She told me she was sorry. But then when I made the decision to actually put that in that book, my first book, Silence Breaker, oh boy, the truth came out. She backlashed me,
Of course.
and I expected that. But what happened to the "you're sorry"?
Yep.
You know, she didn't, and I knew what it was. She didn't want people to look at her as a bad parent. But this is where parents need to take accountability. They need to put their pride aside. It's okay to apologize to kids because kids matter. Their voices matter.
Mhm.
And it was once I put the book out there and she found out about the book and everything, she shut down on me. And that right there was very hurtful. I was crushed. I felt like someone dropped a mountain on my heart because I didn't really think that she would betray me like that. So after the book came out and she would try to manipulate me into not writing the book. Like she would threaten me and tell me she was gonna sue me to get me not to write the book.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, you can try. Doesn't mean you're gonna be successful at it because nobody knows. who these characters are but you or
Right.
the people that actually knew in the family. But
Mhm.
even my family, they didn't when I wrote the book, they they didn't believe me. They didn't believe me. They said after she passed, my mom passed, they called me brainwashed. They called me crazy. They turned their backs on me. They told me my book. They blamed me and said that my I killed my mom because of my book. But I knew they had to try to blame somebody. I was the youngest, so they thought that by them blaming me, it would paralyze me and not get me to move on with my book. But I already knew what it was. And I was definitely okay with accepting how they felt about the book, how they felt about me, and I was just I was prepared for it. I was prepared for it. And with the book, like I said, she said she tried to manipulate me and saying hurtful things to hurt me, and I already knew what time it was, but I knew what God was doing in my life, and it was time to continue to move on.
There's something here. There's something on your heart. And I want you to take the time to deal with yourself and love you
Absolutely.
and release yourself from it. Because you've carried this way too long.
Right.
You don't need to carry it anymore because God already has it.
Right.
He has full control of it. No matter how you wake up some days and you feel, you know,
Yes.
feel weary, you don't feel like yourself, just say, God, I want to release it. I want you to take it off me. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I'm talking to you and I feel it on me. And I really want you to take the time and just spend with yourself. Just ask God to remove it. Say, God, teach me how to give it to you because it's weighing me down in here. And I promise you, when He takes it from you and you give it to Him, you will feel that thing right here that's sitting there. And you got to release it because there's another season that He has for you, and He's ready to take you there.
Right.
He's ready to take you there. He is waiting for you to say, God, take it from me, and I'm ready for my next season. And you're going to do it, and we're going to do it together. You didn't kill your aunt.
No.
You know. And the attacks are going to keep coming
Oh,
because
absolutely.
now you move them out of that comfort zone that
Yep.
they've been loving for too long.
Yep.
And you're going to be the one to shift things for your next generation because your three babies are going to have babies one day.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start their own family, there has to be love and peace
Yes.
and wholeness. And they will find it.
Yes.
And they won't repeat anything
Right.
that you went through.
Yep.
And you got to believe that and know that for sure.
Absolutely.
This book, Silence Breaker,
Yep.
this wasn't for you.
Right.
This was for them.
Yep. Leaving a legacy.
You're leaving that legacy.
Yep.
And you're teaching them how to break generational cycles.
Yep.
Even if they marry into a family where there are generational curses, they
Mm.
already know because mommy already taught me how to break generational curses.
Yep.
So you know that little thing you got to do. I know you're going to do it. But
Mhm.
how old were you when your uncle, well, I would say stepfather, but he's really your uncle, right?
Right.
When
I
he
will. when he started molesting me,
Yeah.
it was the age of 4, the age that my youngest is right now. And, it's something about the age, that number 4, when I had each one of my kids. Something about that age 4. And when each one of them were 4 years old, it brought back, I had to replay it all over again because it's like, wow, like this is I remembered at this age, like what was being done to me. And it plays a major part in how I parent and raise my kids now and the type of environment that I decide to put my kids in. And even when they were young, at the age of 4, I was in an abusive relationship with their dad, experiencing abuse, domestic violence, and I was still overly protective. I would not let nobody really keep my kids. And his family, they did not understand. They would do and say things to try to get me. And sometimes I would let them go. But with my daughter, it was an absolute, yeah.
Absolute no.
Yep, it was an absolute no. And something that I experienced when my daughter was about 2 months old growing up, you know, me and my children's father, me and his mom had a confrontation. And how it hurt, I'm firm. I'm a believer that be when people get mad, they they
Speak
show
the
you how they
truth.
really feel.
They show
Yes,
you their true
you
colors.
get what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what happened. So, there was some verbal abuse that the mom had caused about my daughter and said some horrible things about a 2-month-old baby. But that showed she had some unhealed trauma. You get what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
all it was adding up. And I shared with my kid's dad. I said, "Listen, I'm not in a relationship with your mom. I'm in a relationship with you, and we have kids together. These are our children. So it's our job as responsible adults and parents who break these curses." He would not respect my boundaries when it came to my daughter, or when I would say, "I don't think the time right now is good to let your mom keep my daughter." The things she said, I don't know what she will do to my daughter, and she can't be trusted. He wasn't going for it, and he thought, "Oh, that's my mom. She would never do and say anything." But how can you say that when she's already verbally abusing your daughter at such a young age? You shouldn't put nothing past just because that's your mom. And that's where we mess up, because it's our family, because it's our mom, because it's our dad.
Exactly.
That's where we
That's where
mess
we
up.
mess up
Yep.
because we make excuses for our
Yep.
families.
Just because it's somebody close to us, but it doesn't matter. Abuse is abuse, and it should not happen. So and that played a major part in the relationship his mother and I had, and with him. And it took me years. At that point, I just had my daughter. But trying to stick it out and be with him because we had a daughter, then staying with him so long, then I had another child. And then I had another child. And I stayed because the kids. That's what we women do. That's where we mess up at.
You know, you said three things right now,
Mhm.
and I want to touch on all three of them because you said there was something about that number four.
Yep.
Your innocence
Mhm.
was taken at four.
Yep.
You were silenced at four.
Yep.
And, you know, you're probably the first person I ever spoke to that ever said this. Because when my children turned 6, I was always waiting for their dad to leave
See?
because my dad left when I was
Mhm. See?
I was waiting. And then when they passed 6, I was like, okay, all right, I guess we're locked in.
Yep.
And then I was waiting for the affairs to happen
Mhm.
because I saw
Mhm.
talked to my mom and my stepdad.
Right.
There were so many things that happened at pivotal times
Mhm.
that I was waiting for my kids to pass those stages. Now my son's 14. I'm like, okay, what
Right.
happened at 14?
Mhm.
But it's those memories that we carry with us. And to be honest with you, even though we're protective,
Mhm.
it's so unhealthy
Yes.
because I had to say to myself, girl, if you're breaking generational cycles, why are you holding on to this thing thinking something's going to happen when they turn this age and that age and something happens,
Mhm.
not realizing that we're actually hitting a stumbling block?
Mhm.
Because if we're faith movers,
Right.
but in our spirit we're weary, saying, "Oh my gosh, okay, they're
This
turning
is
4.
scary.
It's
Yep.
it's scary now.
Mhm.
We're weary. Our faith is wobbly
Yep.
because we're waiting for something to happen,
Yep.
and now we have to go back and heal
Mhm.
that 4-year-old version, that 6-year-old version, that
Mhm.
14-year-old version, so that we can pop we can healthy. I say healthy
Right.
and positively raise our children
Yep.
and break those generational cycles with them.
Right.
The hardest thing to do.
Oh, I agree. This has not been a easy journey for me. It
No.
has not.
And then you touched on trusting the family because
Mhm.
a lot of times, number one, you said you stayed because of the kids.
Mhm.
We as Black women, and I
Yep.
emphasize Black women,
Yep.
our homes are always broken.
Yep.
It's always mom and children and dad's gone,
Mhm.
off wherever he is. So we try so hard that even though things are so toxic, we try
Yep.
to hold on to that relationship and that family because we want to do things different than
We
how our
wanna raise them
parents did.
together. We
We
wanna
want to raise them
be
together.
two-parent households. Yep.
But then the mentality has to change and say, okay, fine, I had kids with this person. That doesn't mean that
You have
God
to
wants me to
tolerate.
stay.
Yep.
We don't have to
That
tolerate
doesn't
and
mean you
stay.
have to tolerate disrespect, dysfunction,
Right.
none of that.
And how much harm are we causing to our children by trying to keep a dysfunctional family together?
You're only teaching your kids that it's okay for a man or a woman to treat them that way. And that was one of the main reasons I built up the strength to leave my children's father because I did not want my daughter thinking that it was okay for any no man, no cousin, no uncle, absolutely no human being on earth to treat you
Exactly.
like this. It's not
Exactly.
okay. It's not okay.
And that was one of the best decisions you could ever make.
Yep.
Because if we stay in it for too long,
Mhm.
we already left a seed in them that it's
Yep.
okay. And now when they grow up and we see them doing things and we're like, but wait, I left at this point. Yeah, but
Right.
you already planted that rotten seed.
Yep. So you blame yourself. Take
Right.
accountability. Accountability.
Right.
Yep.
And these open conversations of saying to our kids, hey, you know what? These things happened. It shouldn't have happened. And I
Right.
don't want you guys to think it's normal because it's not.
Right.
And we're gonna change it.
Mhm. Got to.
Then the family.
Mhm.
You touched on the family. Of course we love our family.
Right.
It's hard not to love our family,
Especially when that's all you know.
especially when that's all that we know.
Yep.
But we make excuses for them and we cover up a lot of things.
Yep. To
Well, they
save
only
them.
said it. You only spoke this way because you were mad at me. You only did this because you were mad
Mhm.
at me. Well, no. I'm going to hold you accountable because I don't know what you're capable of.
Right.
So you
Yep.
not letting your kids go around their grandmother, that was a brilliant decision that you made
Right.
because you don't know what she would do if she was mad at you and they were there.
And I've actually I've had a lot of experiences where she was never really good to me or my children since I was in a relationship with my kid's dad. Never.
Right.
So that lets me know that a person like that cannot be trusted with my kids. No, I don't trust you.
No. And we got to start saying that.
Yep,
We
got
got to
to.
start saying that and saying, you know what? If you're not healthy for me, you're not
You're
healthy
not
for my
healthy for my
children.
children. And if you don't like me,
You
you
don't
don't
like my
like my children. That goes
listen.
for anybody. The
We
auntie, the sister, the uncle. Why would I let my children around you and you don't like me and you have something against me?
exactly.
Not doing that.
Exactly. And we got to stop
Mhm.
playing like we're stupid. And I mean
Right,
stupid because listen, you showed me who you were towards me.
right.
My children are me.
And when people don't like a parent, they will take it out on the kids.
Yes, they
They
do.
will do that. Yep.
They have the potential to. They do.
Yep.
And we got to start being honest with ourselves and stop sending our children out of our sight with somebody that we know
Yep.
cannot stand the sight of us.
I agree.
And when you were 4 and all of that was happening, I know you said you didn't tell your mommy. I'm gonna
Hmm.
call her mommy regardless.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you never told any of your siblings.
Nope.
And how long did that go on for?
It went on till I was about 10 and a half, 11 years old, the age my daughter is. So her age right now is definitely hitting,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's hitting
Yeah.
because now you have another generational curse to break, and you have to make sure you see it through
Yep.
and do it in a healthy way because we have to.
Yep.
We have to see it all through.
Yep. And
Now,
this is why I'm very overprotective with my kids. Like I actually I'll move mountains when it comes to putting my kids in a safe and better environment. I actually left the state of Florida. I currently live in Georgia now.
wow,
I left. I packed up. I didn't tell my kid's dad. I didn't tell my family. I told nobody. I packed up, and at the point in time, I was in a relationship with a woman. That's who I moved up here with. We moved up here together, and I just took a step out on faith, not even knowing what I was going to run into. Got here, start pursuing my dreams and goals as a kid. God started opening doors for me. So it's like now God is rewarding me because I'm being obedient and I did a lot of things, shared my story. I know I now know I'm in my rewarding season,
you are.
you know?
Yeah,
And I find that so amazing. Like when I think it just makes my heart smile like, wow. Even though people tried to discourage me, say negative things, at the end of the day, I had to do what was best for me and
mhm,
my children,
yes,
not what everybody else wanted me to do. And that was the thing. Back then, growing up, I was living for everybody else, doing what made everybody else happy,
but
and I
yes,
forgot about me.
mhm.
Forgot about me. So now that I'm all grown up, I'm healing, I'm growing. I started doing a lot of things the more that makes me happy. I'm open, I'm becoming more free, more vulnerable with who I am. And even with the kids and my daughter and her brothers, like I share a lot of things with my daughter. I share why I left. I share with her why she don't get to see her grandma, the granddad, you know, writing this book. She'll see. She reads it. She'll see. So she don't grow up
Not
blame
knowing.
yeah, not knowing and blaming me.
Yeah,
But sometimes I catch her. My daughter's smart. She watches me so much, and the things she come and share with me, I see me in her. She's very smart. She got so much wisdom at a young age right now, and I'm so glad because it's going to be needed.
yeah,
And she comes to me and she says, "Mommy, I used to get mad at you for not letting me see my daddy, but now I see why." And by her saying this to me, It lets me know that she's paying attention and I'm doing something right. I'm teaching her a lot, teaching her a lot.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. I always said, like, you have people who instill things in their kids about the other parent.
Yep, and that was him and his grandma. At one point, they were trying to turn my daughter against me. He started coaching her, like, right before we left Florida. He would tell her not to tell me that he was gonna be popping up to my home while I was in a relationship with my previous girlfriend, and I'm like, "No, that's dangerous. Now you're playing a dangerous game." And
Yeah.
my daughter did not know. She did not know at the time. Of course, she's gonna listen to what he says because that's her dad, but
But
that's dangerous and that's manipulation.
and that's also bad too, because
Yep,
if you could go back to your 4-year-old self
yep,
all the way to 10,
yep.
you remember what your stepfather did. He
What he
would
said,
what he said,
yep,
and it was
those
all
same
those
exact lines.
and it was all grooming.
Yep,
Let's call it what it
exactly.
is.
And that's what I told her. I said, "No, we're not doing this. We not." It brought back so many memories that I had to sit down and actually get serious. It brought tears to my eyes because I never thought that I would be sitting in front of my own daughter, sharing these things with her, revisiting this trauma.
Mhm.
But I had to. It's important, and this is why. So when I'm sharing my trauma with my daughter and she sees that I wrote a book and she sees everything that's in there and what happened to me, like, I always share my life experiences with my daughter. And she's like, "Oh my God, mommy, that's horrible. Why do people do mean things like that?" I said, "Baby, because that's sometimes that's who their character really is.
Yeah.
People are gonna be people." But I did not let other people actions change this right here. I just changed who I'm good to because sometimes people don't deserve you. And that's what I had to realize in my past relationship. He didn't deserve someone like me. He had unhealed trauma. He had unhealed motherly abuse,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that played a major part as
In the
into
relationship,
why he treated me the way he treated me.
right? I want to back up for a little bit.
Mhm,
I know you said that your uncle stopped molesting you at 10.
mhm.
But what caused him to stop? What happened at 10 years old?
Eventually, my mom gained the strength and she divorced him. She divorced him after all those years.
She finally divorced him.
But the thing about that was she never even loved him. And she told me at one point, I asked her, I said, before I even ever told her what I told her about what he did to me, because I was trying to dig deep
Yeah.
as into why she ignored the signs and the red flags to let me
Mhm.
see the news. So I would question and I'm like, why did you stay with him? Did you love him? And she said she did not love him.
Money, baby.
Yep. So all those years she wasted being unhappy.
All for money.
Yep.
And I've been saying for the last couple of weeks now, and I had conversation with another lady,
Mhm.
and people will do and sacrifice things all for money.
Yep.
And then we go back to that saying where it says money is the root of all evil.
Yes. Ooh.
That doesn't mean money is evil. It means that
Yep.
money is
Yep.
the source, the root of evil. It's
Oh, hey, I hope you're enjoying this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
it's the cause of why people do evil things.
Yep.
It's the cause of why people treat each other bad.
Mhm.
It's the cause of why people sell their souls.
Why people turn their backs on each other.
where people turn their backs on each other.
Yep. Mhm.
Money is the root of all evil.
Yep.
Just like any plant that you or seed that you put into the ground, it has to have a root.
Yep.
And money is the root of why people do things.
Yep.
Not that the money is evil. It's that they want it so badly that they will sacrifice their own selves, their
Yep.
life. They will lay their
Their
own
life, their
sacrifice for
well-being.
their well-being, everything.
And that was her. She was married 7 times before she died. She was in her 7th marriage, and that played a major part into, yeah,
Yeah.
her 7th
And
marriage. And
and when you
every man was had this.
had the money that she wanted, you
Yeah.
know, a lot of people feel like when you get the like I hear a lot of people say, when I get the money, I'll do this. When I get the money, I'll do that.
Mhm.
Money doesn't heal.
It
You
sure
can
don't.
get the money and your insides are still
But even with
grappling
all
at
the
it.
different husbands, she still was unhappy.
Yeah.
She was trying to search for happiness, and
Yeah. And when you when she finally divorced him at 10, you guys moved away. How was your relationship with her?
um, let's see. It was a little rocky because she still had some healing to do. Um, and it was still mostly like she kind of had created these narcissistic behaviors.
Mhm.
It's like, when I would share things with her that hurt my feelings, or when she would say things to hurt my feelings, they didn't matter. She labeled me as, "Oh, you disrespectful." But I'm disrespectful because I'm a child, and I'm telling you how I feel, and you find it disrespectful because I'm sharing my feelings, how you hurt me, how you abuse me, but you can do and say anything you want to do to me
Mhm.
and think it's okay.
Right?
And that was more of how she was. It's
And
like,
funny, parents do that a lot to kids. They
yep,
don't it's like you want to silence their feelings and forget that they're humans too.
yep, and you can't do that.
You can't do that.
It's not okay. And that has been normalized so much in society.
It does. It is because now you see a lot of kids, they're on social media, they're expressing themselves.
Yep, because they can't even go to their parents.
They can't
Do
even
you
go to
know ooh, do you know how many young girls that went to school with my daughter, they follow me on my TikTok, my daughter's friends,
yeah,
and they reach out to me. They have conversations with me. They tell me stuff that they aren't even brave enough to tell their own parents. And that's sad.
really sad and
That's
it
very
hurts.
sad. That's very sad. And when I see that happen, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I can only imagine how those children are feeling. They're feeling broken. They don't have that parent that they can confide in, who they can actually go to,
Right.
because the parents are dismissive. They shut down on them.
Dismissive. Their feelings
Yep.
don't matter. Kids don't have feelings. You're a
Yep.
child, stay in a child's place.
Exactly. Yep.
And they put so much burden and blame on the kids that you have to be communicative with your
Yep.
child. Get to know them. Have a relationship. I'm not saying you're supposed to be
Right.
best friends with your kids.
Right. I
But
agree.
but you have to have a friendship and a relationship.
To where they can come to you and talk to you about anything.
Anything,
Anything.
anything.
'Cause they should feel more comfortable coming to you, telling you what's going on, whatever they got going, before they go to a stranger out in the streets.
Exactly. And here we are
Yep,
breaking that generational cycle too, where
yep,
a child should be seen and not heard.
right.
Because
Yep,
when you really think about it, we're doing this. But like I said, it's for our children's children, this generation now.
Mhm.
These kids need role models, people they can go to
Right.
and not go, and this is how they get hurt because they go to strangers who are wearing a mask as,
Yep.
oh, it's okay. I'm here for you, not realizing that that
They
person,
again. Yep.
right,
Eventually, they show their true colors and they turn their back on you.
right.
Yep.
So now you grow up as an adult. How old were you when you had your first son, daughter?
Ooh, ooh, you taking me way back.
I take you way back, girl.
Well, my daughter, I had her in what, 2012. She was born in 2012. So yeah, I was about what? I met her dad in 2011. I was about 19 years old. 19, 18 or 19. Yep.
And I can imagine when you met their dad at the time.
When I met him at the time, I had currently just moved because I was still living with my mom. I had just she always told me that I couldn't go nowhere until I turned 18. The day after I turned 18, I left home because I was watching her getting abused by her husband at that moment.
And you had enough.
And I had had enough. And I say, this is unacceptable. Trying to tell her that this is not okay.
Mhm.
Left the day after I turned 18, and I was homeless. Didn't even know where I was gonna go. Stayed with a friend for quite some time, but who I was going to school with. But in the process of that, my friend, she was a girl, her and her mom had a toxic relationship. I didn't want to be around that. So it's like I was trying to, here trying to
Yeah.
remove myself
Trying
from
to
the
escape, and
toxicity.
everywhere you go, you're finding
Yes,
yourself in the same situation.
yes.
And that was the unhealed part because you know what they say,
Yep,
we attract what we are.
yep.
Phenomenous. Cold ink.